good, people? It's your boy, Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy, WordPlay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all.
We're back.
Yeah. And we... Sorry. I turned into my therapist. I'll tell you. Quick aside. So I go to therapy every other week, once upon a time. But my therapist is a really nice dude. Every time I have a quote unquote breakthrough or say something that is just like profound, my therapist will say, yes.
Wait, what in the Freudian slip?
So shout out to him. He's a great dude.
We have a special episode for you guys today that Mr. WordPlay TJ is gonna queue up for me.
Yeah, we were curious about why rappers become podcasters, and especially rappers that have had very long, illustrious careers. They still could tour. They still could like put out new music and make hit records and those types of things. Rappers keep showing up in beef records. Podcast rappers keep getting mentioned in diss tracks, whether it's positive or negative. People have taken the route from rapper to podcast mostly as a negative thing. Yeah. And ultimately, it makes the rapper look like they have failed in the business sometimes. And I'm wondering if that still sticks, right? So does somebody look like a failure if they're rapping? So maybe we can start there. Like, what do you think?
I think 10 years ago, yeah.
But why?
10 years ago, podcasting, before y'all were able to like get everybody's podcast everywhere, there were just a select few people who were trying to do the podcasting thing. And at the time when the Joe Budden podcast was, I'll name this podcast later, so on and so forth, there wasn't any money really in the podcasting business because it was just a lot of people just talking. You know, it was just,
advertisers didn't see it as an access to an audience.
No. And at that point, it wasn't what it is today. So I think there's a lot of people that come from 10 years ago with the same mindset in terms of how they view these rappers doing podcasts and stuff, even though now we know that it is literally is $1 billion industry.
It is. And I think people look at these folks like failures only because they're not doing what they came in doing. I'm personally, I believe that some of these people could still do what they came in doing.
I think some of them should. And technically, during Joe's like first couple years, he was still putting out music.
Yeah.
While doing the podcast and everything. And I think podcasting went from podcasting 10 years ago, which was, like you said, maybe if things weren't moving the way they wanted them to move, to now it feels more like overall content creation and what you're like giving the people. Like if you don't give people a full package, they're not as in tune to listen because they want more parts of you.
Yeah. And so this conversation is kind of meta because like we do podcasts, but like we're independent. And so like in the independent space, we could be looked at as, oh, you didn't make any money from music, so you're just trying to do this podcast thing. But that's not really what we do it for. I look at it as a marketing extension. So my question is, do you think Joe Budden and other rappers are better off or have an easier time selling their stuff, their music, their whatever they make as creatives now versus when they were actually in the business?
I think that podcasting is like touring. The money's more instant. And I think that's what they focus on.
Well, that sounds like you're making a case for advertising, not for them selling music, but tell me more.
So basically, if you look at it like this, like the reason why rappers talk about touring more sometimes in terms of where they make money is because they don't really make money from streaming, and album sales are a completely different beast in and of themselves, right? So now you're in a place where advertising dollars are instant in the sense of like per episode you get this, Every time you mention this, you get money per sign up for whatever you're advertising. So
Yeah,
there's
so
like
it's affiliate marketing. There's plugging a product and just advertising in general for the product. So like a big thing on Joe Budden podcast has been Prize Picks.
Yeah.
But I think my question is, and so if Joe Budden, let's say hypothetically, if they made an album right now that was completely independent, do you believe that they would make more money on that album by promoting it on their podcast than they would have done with the major label?
I think they could, but I don't think they would because of the atmosphere that podcasts create, right?
I not only think they would make more money, they would make more margin on their money because somebody else ain't in their pockets.
Well, okay. I'll say this. The reason why I say that they wouldn't is because I'm thinking in my mind about the average listener, right? The average listener, like, y'all don't care necessarily that we make music. That's not what you're here for. But if you're interested in us enough, you may go and actually check it out. And if you actually go check it out, much to your point, then that's that's marketing done. That is a sale that is more valuable because it doesn't have to come with the whole label marketing thing. So I think net, you are correct because they are bigger stars. So if I just get 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever people to go and buy this product, that's a bigger sale than streams. That's a bigger sale than trying to do everything. It doesn't have to be the record numbers of like a platinum record or whatever because I'm making that in less numbers. Does it artistically feel worth it to you as an artist to deal with that mental space? Because a lot of us...
For me, it would.
For me too. But again, I'm also an independent artist. I'm not an artist that has had to put out these big, huge, major albums. And I think that fans digest with their impatience podcasts like it's like I can get this in I can overindulge.
I still think that they're looking at the business in a very traditional way. The business is not sitting down with a PR agent and going from place to place to place to talk about this thing. The business is direct to consumer. And it's been direct to consumer for longer than people would want to acknowledge.
Do you
I
think
promise you
that because there will be a next era of podcasters?
Yeah.
Do you think that the J. Coles, the Drakes, the Kendricks, the bigger artists are going to take this route? Because like we said before, is this rapper's retirement? And if they do, what do you think that looks like?
Well, J. Cole's already done that.
Good point.
But
we still ain't got the fall off.
he doesn't have to do that, right? So I think what is the retirement plan is content and media. What is the current plan is content and media, right? Being able to tell a story directly to the consumer in some sort of way. What has been leveraged for most of traditional media is there's always a bigger audience to capture, which has left your core audience ignored. Because you're always chasing more and more and more and more fans. And that's why, after you put out your first album, people feel like, dang, he fell off. They feel that way because you're chasing a bigger audience. An audience that isn't the core people that brought you here in the first place.
And that are not all music fans, that are just like Talk Digest fans.
Yeah, they're burger fans.
Yeah.
They're burger fans.
They are definitely burger fans. What I'm realizing now is it's not so much that it's retirement as much as it is convenient. And I think it's like it's easier for me to go and record these podcasts, to invite my friends on, to promote the projects of newer people, to be the advertising, to be the marketing that labels used to be. But I have more cachet and more rapport with everybody that I'm bringing on. So I feel like it's more of a convenience conversation than a retirement, because I feel like if there were more incentives on the music side in terms of like you said, at the end of the day, if you're getting that 40,000 or that 50,000 or whatever the number is from all of these DSPs, that is still a valuable asset that you could have. But I think that if the floodgates were a little bit bigger, there would be more incentive to actually making the music, and they would be more inclined to do it versus I saw what the record labels were doing with all this marketing and all these people. I'm going to them.
Yeah, and my point to that is the floodgates are bigger. We're just early. For time immemorial, the work of marketing to people has always been external first and not internal. That's the point that I'm making with the you sold out, right? You sold out as saying you care about all these other people who didn't care about you first.
I think retirement plan is one of the weirdest ways we could have put it, but it does make sense. I think it's more
It needed to happen.
Access and giving y'all that access the same way we give y'all access.
But it could still be a retirement plan.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. It should dumb down, yeah.
Because instead of it being you have to do this in order to retire, it's you get to retire because of this.
Okay, bars.
As my therapist would say. Yes.
So what do you think about the rappers that are doing podcasts? Do you like it? Do you want more of it? Do you want them to just stop altogether? And let us know down in the comments. We appreciate you guys every week. And we'll see you in the next piece. A 1 and a 2 and a peace.